Hey guys, Bill here from Angry Ginger Guitars. Welcome to video 3 in the series of the Spalted Maple Top Les Paul build. Hopefully you've watched the first two. The first one was just a simple unboxing video. I went through all the parts and everything that came with it. Great kit from Solo Music Gear, Canadian company. Absolutely love them. Second video, worked on the neck. I've leveled the frets, re-crowned them, took care of the edges. They were pretty good to begin with, but I want some a little bit rounder. Third video here, I decided that rather than attach and then do the finishing work as far as the body went, I'm going to keep them separate, do all of the finishing work as far as the staining. I'm going to put a small stain on the back and sides, the glossing on the top, same thing with the neck. I decided to keep them separate. It's going to be a little bit easier for me personally to work on it, and I'm not going to be doing the same staining on the neck, so it's just going to be pretty much a clear coat, some polyurethane, but we'll get into that in a few minutes. I'm going to show you the different tools I'm going to be using. Nothing spectacular on this one, not going too crazy. However, again, this is a dream build, so I want to do it right. But going to be multiple parts on this one, so we're going to sand it down, stain it up, put some finishing on it. Let's get started. Now what I just showed you guys is the main tool that I use for this part of the project. It's Norton Contour sanding pads. Now I got three different kinds, 120 grit, 180, and 220. I started with the 220 here, probably could have gone a little bit heavier since I'm just doing the back and sides, but you know, I did what I did. And so on the body and neck, a single coating of protective finish, likely polyurethane, was put on there just for shipping, for protection, but to do any kind of finishing work, be it stain or polyurethane or lacquer or paint or anything like that, you always want to get that layer off of there so that way everything can adhere properly and you can do what you need to do with it. Now as I'm getting ready to do the top here, you got to remember that top is paper thin. That veneer for the Spalted Maple is pretty thin, so you don't want to go too aggressive. I'm sticking with the 220 grit, lighter grit, and I'm not putting a whole lot of elbow grease into this one. You can see that I'm taking that finish off, but you don't want to go too heavy there. You don't want to get too rough with it. Otherwise, you're going to go straight through into the mahogany underneath, and nobody wants that. You can see by this point I realized my mistake in using the 220 for everything, so I switched up to the 180 for the neck. Now you can see on the sanding pad itself, the white that comes off of there is that protective coat. You're not really sanding any wood as of yet, and you can just rub that right off like I did onto the canvas. These pads are also rinsable, makes it real easy to reuse them over and over, and I stuck with them for pretty much this entire section. Now that we're all done sanding the body and neck down, time to start putting some finish on there. What you see I'm doing here is I'm taping off the body because what I'm going to be doing is putting a gloss on the top but a satin on the back and sides. So I'm going to start with the top, so I'm taping around that binding around the edges. Some people would tape over the binding itself, but I don't mind a little bit of gloss on top of that. Keeps a nice uniform look across the entire thing. This taping took me a little bit longer than I had anticipated. I dumbed the video down, but it was probably about a good 10 minutes to tape around the edge of this to get it right. Mostly just because I kept trying to use too big of pieces of tape. But this is a very important part. It keeps your finish contained. Peace of mind as well. You don't have to worry as much about things going wrong. So take the time, tape things off. You'll thank me, trust me. Now this is where the hate mail from the purists is going to come from. I use a Minwax polyurethane finish. I love it. I've had great results with it. It's been exactly what I've needed for just about every project. A lot of people use different lacquers, but this is what I use, so relax. Use what you want to use if you don't like it. Now there's two different types. There's brush on there and there's wipe on. I'm using the brush on kind, so it goes on a little bit thicker. I use a foam brush. apply it pretty liberally in the direction of the grain itself, really make that spalted maple pop. Now, the light is your friend when you do this, I'll say that much. You can use any room light or your phone light to look to make sure there's any spots you might have missed. You will miss spots. Unless there's light all around you hitting this thing, you're gonna miss spots. So it's never a bad thing to go back and just double check and make sure. The can says you can wait 3 to 5 hours before you take any kind of sanding to it. I waited about a good solid 8 or 9, as you can tell from the lighting change. Just went back to the 220 grit sandpaper. What you're doing is you're scuffing it up. You're giving that second coat something to grab onto, to really adhere to, so that way, you know, it adheres properly and completely. Again, the light is your friend on this. Pick up the guitar, look at it from different angles. You're going to be able to see pretty quickly where you sanded and where you didn't. You don't want to miss a spot, and you don't want to leave that one area where something doesn't adhere. And what you're seeing here is me putting on the second coat. I did 4 total coats of polyurethane gloss on the top of this. You can do as many as you want, but the 4th gave me really the look I was looking for. It soaked in some spots, but kept it nice and smooth on others, so I was pretty happy. Now, this is the part of the video where I get to tell you that I was a big liar at the beginning. Projects often change, ideas often change. This one was no exception. Instead of a stain, I decided to dye the polyurethane that I was going to put on the back and sides. Used the Minwax wipe-on polyurethane, the satin, and mix all dark brown dye. Just put a couple of drops in there to start with. Gonna progressively ramp it up to see exactly where I needed to go. Now, I don't want this like a dark chestnut or anything like that. Just wanted a little bit of a darker tone to go with that really nice top. As you can see, I tried it once, wasn't quite right, added some more dye, tried it a second time, wasn't quite right, went back in for a third. Third, perfect. It was exactly what I was looking for. Now, unlike when I did the top, this time I decided to tape off the binding because I'm using the tinted polyurethane. I don't want to tint the sides of the binding, leave the same color as the top, but just won't be quite as glossy. It's just as easy to put the back and sides on here with the wipe on as it is with the brush. You're just using the rag this time. You just want to make sure that there's no splotches, no buildups. It will go on a little bit thinner. I believe that's the whole thing about the wipe-on poly, is it's basically polyurethane thinned down with mineral spirits. So you have a little more control over how the buildup is. Might take you a little longer to get to level of protection you might want, but you have a little more control over it. I know I didn't tape off the neck, but it was fine. I took my time, I was careful, and it turned out pretty good. Now what I'm doing here is I'm getting ready to put on the straight clear coat, non-tinted. I used 2 coats of the tinted polyurethane to get the exact shade that I was looking for. And now I'm just putting the protective coats on top of it. I'll need it to get any darker, so just want to have that build up. You can use as many coats as you need. I believe I did 5 total coats, so 3 clear, 2 colored. Did the neck and everything like that. I'm flying through the editing on this because it's really the same procedure as before. You put it on, wait for it to dry, sand it down, put the next coat on. Pretty simple, actually. It just takes time. Alright guys, well here she is. Final day of the finishing process for the neck and body here. Just started conditioning the fretboard. I use the lemon oil. I know opinions vary, but I prefer that. I've always had good results. Flip this guy over here so you can see. Nice sheen on the neck. That's the satin finish. The poly gives it a nice smooth play. The neck profile on this is fantastic too, so I'm really, really excited to get this guy done and string her up and see how it goes. Body itself, start from this angle here, get a nice color. Get the mirror shine on the top and the dark satin finished wood on the sides and back on the mahogany. The dark brown came out great. The mix-all dye in the poly ended up coming fantastic, so it gave me the exact shade that I was looking for, a little bit darker alongside that really great top. Well, next video, I'm going to be gluing these guys together. I know I said I'd do it all in one, but this ended up going a little bit longer than I anticipated, so rather than hit you with a 15-minute video, I figured I'd split them up and give you a little bit of a short one next time. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.